Like Daisy, my coming to Barnard was really based on my aspirations to become a doctor. My Barnard experience started in the fall of 1977. I transferred to Barnard College from Vassar. I transferred to Barnard for its pre-medical program. They had many women who had graduated who went on to become successful doctors, and they had an organized pre-medical program. I left Vassar because I didn't want to live in Poughkeepsie 2 more years. So when I got to Barnard and met with the transfer students' advisors and expressed my interest in going to medical school, they suggested I schedule an appointment with the pre-medical advisor. The pre-med advisor at the time was Esther Rowland, and I got my important appointment, and I was just so excited because I really wanted to be a doctor. Well, I went into Esther Rowland's office, saw her sitting there at her desk, petting her white poodle. She invited me to sit down, and then she said, "So, Nieca, why is it that you want to go to medical school? So many of your classmates have expressed an interest in going to medical school. Why are you special enough? Why should you go ahead of one of your other classmates? You know, it's really hard to get into medical school," she said. Then she asked me a series of questions, like rapid-fire questions. Why do you think you should go to medical school? Why are you so special? What do you think is so special about you? Where did you come from? Who do you know that went to medical school? Is anyone in your family a doctor? And I was just so flabbergasted by all of these questions. She goes to me, "I don't know, I don't think you're gonna make it in going to medical school." So obviously I left the meeting. I had just come to this new place with the hopes of having the support and the guidance on how I can go to going to medical school to achieve my dream of becoming a doctor, which at that point it turned into a nightmare. So I started crying on the way back to the dorm. And then I decided to call some of the people I had met as a transfer student, some of the advisors. And one of them was Marjorie Silverman, who's still here in the dean's office. And Marjorie said, "You know, Nieca, if you want to go to medical school and be a doctor, you just need to find a way and figure it out and take some courses, and I'll set you up to meet with Sally Chapman, who's one of the chemistry professors, who now is chairman of chemistry at Barnard. And you know, we'll both get together and put our heads together and see what it is that we can do to help you." In fact, Margie had me speak to her husband, who was training in medicine at that time. Well, eventually it all worked out. I did get into medical school, and you know, graduating Barnard and going into medical school is sort of a culture shock. I walked into my medical school class, and there were 220 students, only 12 of them women. Well, I got through medical school and successfully, and was initially on the faculty at my medical school. And then I landed a job at Lenox Hill Hospital, which I thought was a great coup because I was able to create a program for women that was called the Women's Heart Program. Well, toward the middle of January of 2003, a hospital administrator called me into his office and said, "You know, the hospital has fallen upon tough times, and I think you're a good doctor, but you don't have a job any longer. We have to close the program, and we don't have another job for you." You know, I left that meeting feeling the same way I left the meeting with Mrs. Rowland. The only thing that was different about my meeting with the hospital administrator is that he didn't have a poodle. So I went home and I cried just the way I cried back to my dormitory. And then I just said, you know, I want to start this practice for women. I really want to do it myself So I took my own resources, namely my own money, and started a practice without any business experience. 0 business experience. Well, you know something, if you know all of those stories about buying a car when you're a woman and you go to buy a car and haggling with the car salesman, just try buying medical equipment. I just couldn't, at one point, I just couldn't take it anymore that I asked my husband, who's a radiologist, to just help me negotiate for my ultrasound machine. I just wanted to get it over with. Well, you know, the part about the practice was, it was hard getting started, and I had not yet I was in between my job at Lenox Hill and getting my practice organized, and I remembered that I was nominated for a book award, and the ceremony was coming up. So when the date of the ceremony was in February, and I was about to open my practice in March, and I thought, I'm not going to go to this. I'm just too depressed. Well, a friend of mine encouraged me to go and hire a hairstylist and a makeup artist to go fix me up so that I would feel a little better. And the makeup artist said to me, you know, you better prepare a speech or something because you might very well win an award. And I said, that's ridiculous. Nothing good is happening here. Well, I wrote it out on a Post-it note, and they called my name. And I did win the book award for my book, Women Are Not Small Men. Well, my practice was going along, and just about that time, I received a phone call from the development office here at Barnard. They wanted to talk to me about making a charitable contribution to the college. You see, the only problem was I was seeing all these patients, but I wasn't getting any of the money from the insurance plans. It seems my billing company wasn't doing their job, and I said to them, I'd love to help you out, but maybe you can help me. And they said, what do you mean? I said, one of my classmates, I think her name was Deborah Newman. And they said to me, oh, you mean Debbie Shapiro? I said, yes. I said, I understand she owns a billing company and she's quite good. Well, believe it or not, in 10 minutes, they got me her phone number. They had some hope that I would still eventually send a check. I called Debbie up and she said to me, Nieca, don't worry. This is just a cash flow problem. Your billing company that you had before wasn't doing their job. And all of a sudden, all the checks started coming, and I was feeling very happy. You know, there's something interesting about my relationship with Debbie and the fact that we both were in the same class at Barnard. She continues to tell me the way it is. She says, you know, Nieca, you're a great doctor, you're a really lousy businesswoman. In fact, she believes that so, that when I had to hire my most recent employee, Debbie interviewed the woman, negotiated the salary, and hired her, and said to me, she's working for you. But all in all, I think a lot of my resilience really does come from being here at Barnard. When I think back to my first meeting with Mrs. Esther Rowland and her poodle, I realized that it's not really a question that one student is better than the other, is that we all in a lot of ways complement each other. And that I'm really very proud that I went to Barnard and my networking experience and the fact that I can help other women with my talents, just the way Debbie helped me with her talents. But most importantly, I think I've come to a point where I can say, thank you, Esther Rowland, and I still like poodles.